The finding that the UN Commission of Inquiry made that there was no government policy in the attacks that many individuals committed is significantly important for a number of reasons. First, it kind of distills and deals with a lot of the disinformation and misinformation and the rushed reporting that happened early on, saying and citing that this was a government policy to commit these horrific violations. So that's the first, importance of that finding. The second thing is that it actually mirrors what the national inquiry find. When many people, many organizations try to discredit the national inquiry, albeit it being the first national inquiry that was created by President Shara and had independent members of the judiciary, lawyers, and civil society, the findings reached by the national inquiry mirrors those reached by the UN, which is an important milestone because it shows the credibility of the national inquiry, something that we are trying to build after years of the Assad regime dismantling institutions. So those findings are important. And with regards to the second point, with regards to the Commission saying it had received unfettered access, this is also a historical turning point because never in Syria's recent history has the Assad regime ever allowed or even acknowledged the Commission of Inquiry. It used to call it the so-called Commission of Inquiry. Here, the new Syria in March renewed or did not oppose to the mandate, which led to the renewal of the commission in a unanimous vote because Syria did not disagree. So all countries then agreed for renewing. And then on top of that, allowed it unfettered access to the coastal areas, to meet victims and survivors, to visit burial sites, to speak to officials from the governor to local security officers. And that's something that has never happened before in Syria's history. The action taken by the new government of establishing a national inquiry, which has spent months researching and which had also unfettered access to government officials, the Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Justice, and so on, shows that we are on the right track. Many people are not happy that we are on the right track, but these are irrelevant, and we are going to continue pushing ahead, building stronger institutions, building stronger credibility. The fact that the findings of the presented by the national inquiry, also in a public conference, in a public setting, and subject to media scrutiny, shows the transparency that we want Syria to be moving ahead. The journey is going to be very complicated, but that is one that we are tackling with a lot of pride and a lot of effort. The UN made it clear that despite its extensive effort, finds no evidence of governmental policies behind this, and when it was citing individuals and starts citing crimes, although widespread and, as it quotes, systematic, for reasons it explained and put into context, something that this report and other reports by media organizations failed to do, it often cites it as individual members. And when it cites individual members who have committed some of these widespread alleged violations, it also cites other members from the same factions and the same groupings who tried to prevent such abuses from taking place. And that shows that there was no policy, there were no command chain, there were no hierarchy or leadership. These were things taken at the individual level, maybe at small groups level, but it was never something at the state level. At the state level, the orders were abundantly crystal clear, and these individuals, before they have breached international laws or Syrian laws, they have breached orders given to them by the Syrian authorities to halt these violations. It is not for me to comment on the drives of certain journalists or media outlets of why they omitted certain context or did not do thorough investigations on things. That is up to them and to their editorial policy. But our message to them is, please don't make our job harder. Our job in the new Syria is to find the facts, to be able to pursue accountability, to be able to identify things. If our energy is being spent on dismantling disinformation, that distracts our ability of focusing on what really matters and what you really seem to also, make public that you care about. The victims, justice, and truth. And these are things that we are aligned. So we call upon a lot of these media journalists and reporters to work with us in uncovering the truth in the same way we worked with the Commission of Inquiry to uncover more truth in order for us to be able to address what our state responsibility tells us to address and what our responsibility to the Syrian people dictates us to address. This recommendation comes after an acknowledgement of the difficulty of security sector reform in Syria. It acknowledges that we have more than 100,000 fighters that belong to different factions. It acknowledged how we tried to kind of integrate and try to bring people together under one command chain. It acknowledges the challenges in that. It acknowledges that some individual members and some members of the public are also, or the majority of the members of the public are also armed. So when we say an armed individual, that might not necessarily mean someone who belongs to function. It might be an individual who's just armed. So we have a lot of security sector reform challenges that the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Defense have been working on from day one. These process in transition. So you had 14 years of war. Usually these reforms take longer than the period that they occurred in, and we're just talking about 8 months into the fall of the regime. So it's a long process that we are dedicated to tackle head on. All the ministries are dedicated to tackle head on, but it's a complicated process, not one that we're shying away from, but one that we are happy that the Commission acknowledges the challenges of and is happy to work with us in alleviating and dealing with those recommendations.